Live from Bearcast Studios at the University of Cincinnati, this is Cats at the Corners.
Happy Tuesday, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day to those who celebrate. Welcome to the conference preview edition of Cats at the Corners. I'm your host, Will Moore, and I'm going to be hanging out with you for the next half hour, going over everything that you need to know for the upcoming AAC baseball season, as we are 3 days away from opening day in Atlanta, Georgia, where the Bearcats will be taking on the Georgia State Panthers. But before we get too deep into the show today, we've got some breaking news. The video board's gone. I woke up this morning and I was checking Twitter and saw that the official Bearcats baseball account had posted that the video board was gone, and I looked out my window and it definitely wasn't there. So hopefully that means, pretty sure that means we're getting a new one, which, we're pretty due for a new video board at UC. The old baseball one was kind of small. I mean, you couldn't really, for the pregame video last year, you couldn't really tell what was going on from certain areas in the ballpark. Like from behind home plate, you couldn't really see it if you were straight back from home plate and all the way up. So, it's good that we're getting a new video board. I'm hoping for something kind of like what Ohio State has. They have a pretty big video board, and you can really see what's going on throughout all of the ballpark. So let's transition into just general sports. Bearcast lacrosse had their season opener a couple days ago. They dominated Kent State last Friday, winning 14-7 at Nippert Stadium. Jewin Lauren Ottensmeyer had 4 goals on the day. The Bearcats had another game after that. They went on to decimate Gardner-Webb 20-9. Ava Goler had 6 goals on the day. That's a very appropriate name if you're going to be putting up 6 goals on a game. And Cameron Callahan had 5. The Bearcats lacrosse will be back in action on Friday at 3 o'clock at Nippert Stadium against Robert Morris. So be sure to check them out if you have the chance, because right now, dare I say, this is the hottest team that we have at the University of Cincinnati. These ladies just keep winning, and hopefully there's no slowing down against Robert Morris. Last weekend, UC Ice Hockey had a series against the West Virginia Mountaineers. The Bearcats took Game 1 by a score of 4-3, and then lost Game 2 3-4 to the Mountaineers, and that concludes the Bearcats hockey season. I had a great opportunity through Bearcast Media to work with the hockey team this year, and I'm really grateful for that experience. If you're a student at the University of Cincinnati and would like to get involved in anything like radio, media production, or just you have a single creative bone in your body, make sure you head on down to one of our meetings Thursday nights at 6:30. The Blue Jackets had kind of a mini-series against Toronto. They lost Game 1 at Nationwide Arena, 3-0. 2 goals for John Tavares on the night and 1 goal for Pierre Engvall. And then the second game was at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. The Blue Jackets won that game 4-3. Goal scorers for the Blue Jackets included the captain Boone Jenner, Kent Johnson, Kirill Marchenko, and Sean Corrali. Kirill Marchenko also got his first assist of the year, about time. That dude only scores goals. He's a lethal shooter, and he's going to be fun to watch for many years in the Union Blue. Blue Jackets are back in action tonight at 7:30 at Nationwide Arena, hosting the New Jersey Devils. However, they're going to be doing it without defenseman Vladislav Gavrikov. Gavrikov is a healthy scratch tonight for trade-related reasons. So Blue Jacket fans can expect to be seeing, or perhaps they have already seen, the last of Vladislav Gavrikov in the Union Blue. Bearcats men basketball beat South Florida 84-65. Odi Oguama had a big game, tallying 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 18 points. Shot 9 for 9 from the field. Bearcats started off pretty slow against the South Florida Bulls. And we were talking a little bit last episode about some of the jerseys, and I just kind of want to know what South Florida was thinking with the jerseys. They had kind of like these muted pinstripes with the orange and with the yellow and kind of the weird neon green. Hopefully South Florida doesn't have a fashion school. If they do, they might want to use it. South Florida, if you're listening, hit me up. I'll get you right. Bearcats' next game is at Williams Arena to take on the ECU Pirates today at 7 o'clock. And then we're going to transition over to the women's side. Women's had a bit of a thriller, went into overtime, won against Temple 74-66. Jillian Hayes and Maya Jackson led the team in scoring with 18 points apiece. Their next game is tomorrow at 7 o'clock at Fifth Third Arena against the ECU Pirates. So one of these teams, the men's side, is going to be at ECU, and then the other, the women's team, will be at Fifth Third Arena. So make sure that you go out and check out the women's team, 7 o'clock at Nippert Stadium. And then the Super Bowl was this Sunday. The Chiefs beat the Eagles 38-35. But the headline of the game was a James Bradbury holding call on Juju Smith-Schuster that allowed the Chiefs to run out a lot of clock. I'm not going to get too into this game. I'm not a big kind of conspiracy guy. I'm not going to say it's rigged, but I do feel like the vibe is that it has a lot of the things that have happened with the Chiefs specifically have drawn questions about the integrity of the league, which, I'm not going to sit here and speculate on anything, but that seems to be the vibe that I've been picking up from this. Also, apologies for earlier. The men's basketball team will be playing tomorrow at 7 o'clock at ECU instead of tonight. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna kind of overview what we can expect from every team in the American for this upcoming baseball season. 8 teams in the American, not every team participates. And a lot of this is from D1 Baseball, which just released their predictions for the 2023 American Conference season. So we're just going to go down the list and give a preview as to what you can expect from each team going forward this year. And so at number 1, shocker, it's ECU. ECU, everyone knows it. If you want to win this division, you got to go through ECU. That's a great team. They've really built something special over there, and they've got College World Series aspirations. So, that's going to be the team to beat this year in the American. So last year, ECU won the conference championship tournament and the regular season championship. They finished the year at 46-21 and 20-4 in conference play, and they were the unanimous favorite to win the championship again in the preseason poll as voted on by the league's coaches. Last year, the Pirates made it all the way to the Super Regional, but were knocked out by the Texas Longhorns. Kind of an upset, not really. The ECU was the 8 seed, Pirates were the Longhorns were the 9 seed. So, they lost 2 out of 3, got knocked out. So they're looking for a little bit of revenge this year, trying to make another run to the College World Series. And then one player that you kind of want to look out for if you're another team around the American is right-handed pitcher Carter Spivey. He's a preseason second-team All-American in 2 polls, AAC preseason pitcher of the year, unanimous All-AAC preseason team. Last year had a 2.83 ERA, 8-0 record, 35 appearances with 2 starts, and a 2.45 batting average against. So this dude can deal. This guy should probably be working in Vegas. That's how good he can deal. A little dad joke. Oh, man. Other all-conference. Sophomore outfielder Jacob Jenkins Coert. He's also listed as a first baseman on ECU's website, but he is another unanimous preseason all-conference player. He's the number 1 prospect from the American for the 2024 draft class via perfect game. So out of everyone in the American that will be in the 2024 draft class, he is the number 1 prospect. 330 batting average, 549 slugging percent, 77 hits, 65 ribbies, and 13 big flies. So this dude, and this is with a lot of the players that are going to be highlighted today. These are all the best of the best, kind of like the weapons that you need to be looking out for if you want to be competitive this year in the American. Last year, the Bearcats ended up going 1-6 against the Pirates, including one loss in the conference tournament. That was their second game of the conference tournament for the Bearcats. Bearcats ended up losing that game 5-15, and then would go on to lose to Tulane and make an exit from the tournament. The second team, according to D1 Baseball, is UCF. UCF finished second last year in regular season play and made it to the semis before being knocked out by the Houston Cougars. The Knights finished the season with a record of 35-25 and 14-10 in conference play. The Bearcats played the Knights 3 times last year. It was the last series of the year. One of those games came on, I believe, UCF's senior night. As far as the preseason all-conference team, UCF's got 2 pitchers going on the team. First off, junior pitcher Ben Vespi, 3.56 ERA, 6 wins, 4 losses, 25 appearances, 9 starts, 0.241 batting average against. And then this is my own personal award for Ben, is the second best lettuce in the league after the University of Cincinnati's own Chase Hopewell, because, you can't compete with that golden locks that he has whenever he steps on the mound. And then the relief pitcher for the all-conference team was Kyle Kramer. He's a redshirt senior, 3.69 ERA, 23 appearances, no starts, 39 innings pitched, .217 batting average against. And last year was actually his first season in the American, so he had a really good year for this being his first season here. He spent 3 years at Rollins College, which if you don't know, is a Division II school in Winter Park, Florida, which is only 15 minutes away from UCF's campus. So obviously the staff at UCF had a pretty good eye on this guy and knew what they were getting, and they feel comfortable. And obviously it paid off, making a preseason all-conference team. So the Bearcats played the Knights 3 times last year, won 2 out of 3. Didn't play in the tournament, but that's definitely a matchup that I'm going to be looking forward to seeing this year, because that's going to be, the Bearcats. I feel like the Bearcats are going to be a team that's going to come in very similar to last year, where they're going to be a very, very offensively productive team. And so going against those guys, that's going to be a really fun matchup to see who gets the best of who. Number 3 from D1 Baseball is the Houston Cougars. Houston was the runner-up in last year's conference tournament and finished the regular season also in second place. The Cougars finished with a 37-24 overall record, 13-11 in conference play. Houston had one series against the Bearcats, which was at UC Baseball Stadium, where the Cats won the series 2-1. Houston actually has 3 players on the all-conference team, which I believe is the second most for a team in the conference. To start it off, we've got a unanimous all-conference redshirt senior shortstop Ian McMillan, 302 batting average, 64 hits, 10 dingers, 514 slugging percent, and 375 on-base percentage. So this dude, it's a very similar thing for, anyone that made the all-conference team is a ringer pretty much, and this guy's no different. Next, we've got junior catcher Anthony Tolmero, 326 batting average, 76 hits, 39 ribbies, 5 homers, and 23 runners caught stealing out of 35. So unless you've got a Usain Bolt type guy, you probably don't want to be stealing on the Houston Cougars anytime soon. 23 out of 35 runners caught stealing that last season. That's a great thing to have on your resume as a catcher. And then the final member of the all-conference team for Houston is junior third baseman Zach Arnold, 283 batting average, 65 hits, 10 big flies, 45 ribbies, 452 slugging percent, and 348 on base percent. Another just absolutely solid hitter for the Houston Cougars. And that's going to be a fun matchup when Houston comes to town, because like I said earlier, the Bearcats won a lot of games just by outscoring opponents last year. So it's going to be fun if it's, you got Houston coming into town and they're just going blow for blow every inning. That's going to be I'd really look forward to that one. Bearcats lost the first game of the series against Houston last year, then would win the next two. The middle game only had to go to 7 innings, and then the last game was 9-6. And then fourth in the conference, this is where things kind of start to get a little bit interesting for me. Fourth in the conference is Tulane. The Green Wave ended up ending the Bearcats season last year in the conference tournament. After losing their first game to the Bearcats by a score of 1-8, the Green Wave would go on to beat South Florida 9-6, then get revenge on the Bearcats, winning 13-5 and sending them back to Clifton. Tulane would go on to lose to ECU 5-8 and finish the season with a 33-26-1 record. That one tie came against Villanova, and 11-13 in conference play, finishing the season at 5th in the conference. Only one all-conference player for the Green Wave, junior pitcher Dylan Caramouche. He's a lefty, 4.48 ERA, 5 wins, 5 losses, 16 appearances, 16 starts. He likes to keep it symmetrical. .259 batting average against. And the Bearcats last season ended up going 3-2 against the Green Wave, 2-1 in the regular season, 1-1 in the postseason. That last loss, as I mentioned, ended up ending the Bearcats season. So Tulane will come to UC Baseball Stadium for a 3-game series on April 21st, and that's definitely one that I'm looking forward to, looking to get a little bit of revenge against the team that ended our season a little prematurely, a little before we'd like for it to be ended. But we're going to move on to number 5, Wichita State, which I have to say, Wichita State is one of my absolute favorite brands, in not just in the conference, but in sports. I just love the name Shockers. I love their colors. I love all their uniforms. Like their logo, only thing that gets me is the mascot. Mascot looks like something a kid in a horror movie would draw to describe the monster living under their bed. I do not like the mascot. The mascot scares me. There's just nothing in those eyes. The Bearcat, there's a little soul in there. Wichita State, not really. Just looks scary. Don't really know what he's up to. Wichita State finished the season 21-36 overall, 9-15 in conference play. Only 2 tournament games, so they played the minimum, losing 7-10 to Houston, and 4-12 to UCF. Hosted the Bearcats for 3 games last season at Tyler Field, where they were swept. Preseason AAC Player of the Year and unanimous preseason All-Conference Player of the Year, second baseman Brock Rodden is someone that the whole league is going to have to be looking out for. He's a junior out of Oktaha, Oklahoma, .338 batting average, 17 big flies, 48 ribbies, .653 slugging percentage, and .441 on base percentage. Absolute tank. This is a guy that's going to put the whole league on notice again this year. Scary guy. Wouldn't want to face him. But he's not it on Wichita State. Wichita State actually has the most preseason all-conference players. The next one's junior pitcher Cameron Bai. He's a righty. 3.76 ERA, 17 appearances, 10 starts, 5 wins, 2 losses, and a .229 batting average against. So just a very big rotational guy, very key guy in their lineup. And then junior outfielder Chuck Ingram, .310 batting average with 72 hits, 14 big flies, 53 ribbies, .530 slugging percent, and .338 on base percent. Just another absolutely solid hitter that you're going to have to look out for if you're playing Wichita State this year. And then this is the most interesting one. The designated hitter for the all-conference team is Peyton Toll. He's a pitcher and infielder, bats left, hits left, .448 ERA, 12 starts last year. And on the other side, .317 batting average, 33 hits, and 3 big flies. And then here's the most important statistic, 4.0 GPA, because of course these are student athletes, and that is the most important thing. So this is the type of guy in high school to absolutely dominate a side in baseball, then go make the nerds cry in the Quiz Bowl. This guy is an absolute well-rounded person. He's a great baseball player and clearly a very intelligent guy. Shockers, more preseason all-conference players than any other team. and then got swept by the Cincinnati Bearcats. And then we move on to number 6, which is the Cincinnati Bearcats. The Bearcats finished the season with a 24-31 record, 12-12 in conference play, eliminated from the tourney after beating Tulane, losing to ECU, then losing to Tulane. So that would be their second loss, eliminating them from the tournament. And then the big news for the Bearcats was they lost AAC Player of the Year, Griffin Merritt. And this year, the Bearcats only had one player on the preseason all-conference team, redshirt junior, first baseman Ryan Nicholson, 277 batting average, 53 hits, 12 home runs, 529 slugging percentage, and 354 on base percentage. This dude can absolutely mash the ball. We're going to be looking forward to everything Ryan Nicholson has to offer for us coming into this year. Number 7, South Florida. South Florida ended last season with a 28-29 overall record and finished 8-16 in conference play. They were regular season last in the conference, but despite this, they were the only team other than ECU to get a first place vote for the coaches poll. So ECU was the unanimous first place choice. They got every possible first place vote, but you can't vote for yourself. So ECU just threw their vote to South Florida, and I was wondering if I was missing something. You know, obviously they know more than I do. I was wondering though if I missed something, if South Florida had a good series against ECU, and they did not. South Florida got swept by ECU the entire season, 4 games. One of those games being the first game for ECU in the playoffs. So it makes you kind of question how seriously ECU was taking that vote. They probably just didn't want to risk someone else sneaking into first place. But yeah, South Florida played the minimum tournament games, lost to ECU 4-7, then to Tulane 6-9. Only one player on the preseason all-conference team, which is outfielder Drew Brutcher, 299 batting average, 610 slugging percent, 40 RBIs, and 13 swamp donkeys. This guy can absolutely match the ball. Gonna be looking forward to seeing him. He's a star on South Florida. You know, we're gonna all of these guys we're gonna have a close eye on and see, you know, how they do, if they live up to kind of what we were expecting them. Because, you know, this is preseason. You know, nobody really knows how anyone's gonna do this season yet until they started playing, but, you know, these are guys that we're all going to look out for and, you know, see how they do, if they live up to the hype this year. The Bulls played the Bearcats for one series at UC Baseball Stadium. The Bearcats lost the series 2-1. And then we're going to move on to our final team in the American Athletic Conference, which is the Memphis Tigers. Memphis finished last year 7th in conference play, 26-29 overall, 9-15 in conference play. They went 2-1 against the Bearcats last year, including a win on Bearcats Senior Day. They are the only team with no players on the preseason all-conference team. So that's rough for them. But at the same time, they also had a major loss, kind of similar to how we lost Griffin Merritt in the offseason, transferring to Tennessee. Memphis lost their ace pitcher, Landon Gartman. He was a righty. He was a 2022 unanimous first-team All-Conference, 2022 AAC Newcomer Pitcher of the Year, 3.56 ERA, 7-1 record, .175 batting average against. He will be playing. He's joining Griffin Merritt in the SEC. He'll be playing for Mississippi State. That's someone you'll definitely want to keep your eye on if you're a Memphis Tigers fan. And I'd imagine it's a very similar feeling in Memphis as it is in Cincinnati when you lose one of those star players. Obviously, you're going to be disappointed, and obviously you still wish they were there. But at the end of the day, you know, that's one of your guys. He's going to be a senior at Mississippi State this year. And so at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing about that is you have to root for your guys that have, you know, he succeeded very well at Memphis. And, if you're a Memphis Tigers fan, I think you just have to appreciate what he did and root for him because he's at Mississippi State to try to make a career out of baseball, and you just need to support your guy. And so that's going to do it for my my overview kind of the conference. We still got 5 minutes left on the show. I want to compare the preseason coaches poll to the D1 baseball poll. There are a couple differences. One of the big ones is that in the coaches poll, instead of UCF at 2 and Houston at 3, they have them flipped. Houston at 2 and UCF at 3. Houston's only 1 point higher though than UCF. So at this point, you kind of imagine that everyone kind of has about the same feelings about UCF and Houston, that they're very evenly matched teams. So it should be a very good series when we watch when they play each other. You know, Houston's going to be I'm expecting Houston to be a very offensively heavy team, and UCF's got some, you know, good pitchers. So that's going to be a good matchup. It's going to be a fun match to watch this year. Both polls had Tulane at number 4, Wichita State at the 5. Then we get into a little bit of a difference. The D1 baseball had Cincinnati at the 6, where the coaches poll had South Florida at the 6. And you almost wonder if the ECU first place vote for the Bulls kind of hurt the Bearcats a little more than they'd like for it to, and that might be why they got that spot. But regardless, then South Florida at 7 in the D1 poll. Preseason coaches poll has the Bearcats at 7th, and then both polls have Memphis at 8. I went ahead and made kind of my own prediction, and you know, of course, I don't like to speculate kind of on how things are going to go before the season gets underway, because, you know, we don't know. These are all these statistics. They're kind of what we expect these guys to do, but there's no guarantee. Guys could perform way under the average from last year, or they could excel beyond the average from last year. So, you know, we really don't know how this is going to go, but I just thought it'd be fun to kind of throw something together real quick. I have ECU, Houston, UCF, Wichita State, the Bearcats, Tulane, South Florida, and Memphis. So everyone kind of seems to think that Memphis will be at the bottom of the league. I moved Cincinnati up to the 5 spot. I just think, and you know, I could be biased, but I just think we even while losing Paul Comestek and Griffin Merritt and Bo Keithley, we still have a lot of weapons on this Bearcat baseball team, and I expect a lot of guys to emerge this season. And then I kind of want to get back to talking about Ryan Nicholson, because he was the Bearcats' only preseason player on the all-conference team. So Ryan Nicholson, first baseman, redshirt junior. If you watched Bearcat baseball last year, you remember how fun of a 1-2 punch that was last year when you had guys like Ryan Nicholson and Griffin Merritt together in the lineup. That Ryan Nicholson's going to be a guy, you know, probably batting, you know, 3rd or 4th, and then, you know, he's going to be a big kind of cleanup guy this year because he can absolutely mash, and so could Griffin Merritt. And Griffin Merritt, you know, deservedly won AAC Player of the Year last year. And another guy that I'm looking forward to on the Bearcats roster is Cole Harding. I don't have the stats for Cole Harding up right now, but Cole Harding was actually the number 5 top prospect in the 2023 MLB draft for the American Athletic Conference, according to D1 Baseball. And he's, you know, that dude can hit. You know, he doesn't always hit the long one, but he's just an overall great hitter. And, you know, it's gonna be really exciting to see what these Bearcats can do this year. And so, you know, we're getting towards the end of our time here. Bearcats baseball, 3 days away. If you can try to contain your excitement for 3 more days, the Bearcats will be playing at Atlanta, Georgia. I still haven't found details on if there's going to be a broadcast or not. I've still got to figure that out. I can't find it anywhere. If you do find it out, make sure to tweet it at Cats Corners. Show's called Cats at the Corners. I've been your host, Will Moore. Thank you for spending the last half an hour with me. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, like I said, at Cats Corners. Show's called Cats at the Corners. And at YouTube, same at Cats Corners, also called Cats at the Corners. Thank you so much for spending part of your Tuesday with us, and we will see you Friday at 1 o'clock. Thank you.